All right, sixth graders, have you ever looked at a ruler and just wondered what do these marks represent? What do these marks mean? So I easily can say, okay, this big line right here means 6, and this is 6 inches because this is an inch ruler, and this one right here is 7, so I get that that's 7 inches. But I'm not quite sure what these little marks mean. If that's the case, what we're going to do today is we are going to create a resource for you that when you use it with a ruler, it will help you be able to tell exactly what those little lines represent. Okay? And so what you're going to do, you need a piece of paper, you need something to write with, a pen or a pencil. So pause the video right now and go get those things, get those items. Now that you have those items, you're going to take your piece of paper, you're going to hold it the long way, and you are going to fold this in half, hamburger style. Okay, so I'm going to fold this in half. Be as neat as you can while you do this. I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to open it back up. Okay, so hamburger style, fold it in half, open it back up. Go ahead and pause the movie or pause the video to complete that step. Then what you're going to do, you're going to take your pencil, you are going to start at the bottom of the paper, and along the crease, you are going to draw a line that goes straight up to the top, but it doesn't go all the way. So you need to make sure you leave a little gap at the top. You can see I took my marker, I drew starting at the bottom, right up that crease that I had folded, but I left a little gap. Go ahead and do that right now. Then I'm going to label this 1/2. So right above that line that I drew, I'm going to label that 1/2. So that tells me that, if I started over on this side of the paper and I was walking this way and I got here and I was super tired and I needed to take a break, I was halfway to the end of the paper. I covered 1 out of the 2 equal parts that I have. Okay? Now that we have that done, we're going to take our paper and we're going to refold it. Fold it along that same crease. Going the same way, we want to fold it in half again. So go ahead the same way. So holding the paper like this, the same way, fold it in half. I should now have a rectangle that looks like this. Go ahead and pause the video to get that accomplished. Next, I'm going to open up my paper again. Now you can see that I have more creases. Now instead of just having 2 parts, 2 halves, now I have 1 section, 2, 3, 4 sections. So you're going to take your writing tool, your writing utensil, and you are going to do a similar thing, drawing a line along those new creases from the bottom straight up to the top, but don't go as high as you did on the previous line. And make both of the lines about the same height. So you can see here, I drew 2 new lines along those new creases. They don't go as high as the half line that I have. Now I have 4 equal parts. So I'm going to label these 1/4 and 3/4. Okay, so my paper should look like this. Go ahead and pause the video and complete these steps. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to refold along all of those creases. So I go ahead and just refold my paper along the creases I have, and we're going to make 1 more fold. I'm going to fold this in half going the same way 1 last time. Okay, so I go ahead, I fold it in half 1 last time. Now I'm going to have even more sections than I did before. So when I unfold my paper, now you should have how many parts? If you answered 8 of them, you are correct. So if I count the little kind of sections of my paper that I folded now, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, pause the video and fold your paper into 8ths. Now what we're going to do is similar. Some of you are recognizing the patterns. I'm going to take my writing utensil. I am going to start at the bottom and draw a line up from the bottom up the page. Do not go as high as the lines that you just drew. Make those lines again about the same height. So you can see here what I just did. You can see the new lines along those new creases that I have. They don't go up as high as the 1/4 or 3/4 lines that I've made. So pause the video and get those lines drawn. Now we need to label those lines. So I have 8 total pieces. So if I start over here at the beginning and I were to walk across one of them, I've gone 1/8 of the way. I've gone one part out of 8 total. So we're going to label these 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, and 7/8. So go ahead and pause the video and do that right now. All right, your paper should now look like mine. Again, we have them labeled 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, 1/2, 5/8, 3/4, and 7/8. The last thing we're going to do, we're not going to fold these anymore, but in the middle of each of these spaces, we are going to draw now from the bottom up another line that goes about halfway, so shorter than the 1/8 line, but it starts at the bottom and it goes up, just kind of right in the middle. Okay? So let me show you what that looks like. So your paper should now look like this. Excuse me, got to get it on the camera. Your paper now should look like this. You can see that in between each of those creases, I now have a smaller line drawn right in the middle of each of those. And now if you are catching the patterns, you'll notice that our paper is split into 16 parts. So we have 16 little sections down here at the bottom. So we need to go and label each of those sections. Okay, so if we start at the beginning of the paper, if I go to the first little line, that's 1 out of 16 parts, so 1/16. Okay, when you finish labeling, it should look like this. So our paper now should look like this. The first space that I have would be labeled 1/16. I don't need to write 2/16 because 2/16 is an equivalent fraction to 1/8. Then we have 3/16, 4/16, 4 out of 16 spaces. I don't need to write that because 4/16 is equivalent to 1/4. 5/16, 7/16, 9/16, 11/16, 13/16, and then the last short line that I have here is 15/16. So now this is a tool that you can use to help you when you measure. So there are 16 spaces in between the two sides of this paper. On a ruler, if you look at a standard ruler, there are 16 spaces in between each of these inches. So this paper that we just created will help you figure out what each of these little spaces in between the bigger inches represents. And you'll learn more about that in class. Once you have your paper folded, make sure you take an image of this and put it into your design notebook.